Hello everyone, we are going to preview and learn about the EDC460 assignment, the Digital Tools Portfolio. Everyone, if you want to follow along, go to Blackboard Learn, log in and go to the Assessments page. We are going to learn about the Digital Tools Portfolio, so click on that folder. This is the assignment that is worth the most. You're going to spend a lot of time doing this. So let's all download the PDF and read about it. The portfolio is a way to show evidence of your technological use during your practicum. So one of it should be the record book. That's one part of your digital tools portfolio. We just covered the record book. The other two are learning tools. I'm going to talk about more those in more detail soon. So for each tool, you're going to give the following, okay, a brief description, the purpose of the tool, whether you used it, the student used it, and how it was used. Then describe how the students reacted to this. These are all general pieces of information that you're going to include. Okay, it's not a lesson plan. You may need to write a lesson plan to submit to your supervising teacher or to Doctors Edward or Tabby for your practicum. Maybe you need to submit those lesson plans, but you're not submitting the lesson plan to me. You're submitting information about the way you use technology and why. Okay, so a little bit of housekeeping. The portfolio should include a cover page and an outline page. Edit your work before submission. Of course, we are at university, so you need to use APA formatting and citations and references. Specifically, how, why. If this can be supported by academic literature, then you should be including this. This distinguishes the exemplary students from maybe the developed or developing students. Okay?
The how and why?
Yes, but specifically referencing, citations, using academic literature to support the how and the why. This is what separates those that are at the exemplary level from those at the developed or developing. I'm not saying that if you use one reference, you're going to be exemplary. No, it does come down to quality of your writing. But if you don't have any academic referencing, then it's harder for you to get into the exemplary band. Okay, when you get back from your field experience, we're going to select some and share our learning tools. So you've got 2 submission deadlines, so please put this in your diary now or later. You're going to submit one learning tool by Thursday, April 13th. You have 4 weeks, I believe. 4 weeks. But you have 4 weeks at your practicum to complete this. That includes the holidays. So the smart ones will do the lesson before the holidays, and then you have the holiday time to write it up. The reason why, and then Thursday, May 11th, so 1 month later, you'll need to submit the record book and the other learning tool. There are 3 submissions.
What is the one learning tool?
I'll talk more about that later. The reason why you submit one learning tool first is to get feedback from me. Within a week, I'll mark them and give you feedback so you know your strengths and weaknesses in order to improve the record book and the other learning tool. Does that sound like a good plan? Okay, I see a lot of heads nodding. Thank you. Okay, so the tool descriptions. There are 3 submissions within a portfolio. One is the record book, Excel spreadsheet or other, doesn't matter. Okay, we did a lot of work on that today. If you're watching this video after, then check Blackboard. I'll put up our resources on Blackboard. It includes some information that we haven't talked about yet. Any pre-testing that you do, so diagnostic testing, any continuous or formative assessments, or summative data. We specifically focused on summative. Student progress, actually, we did formative. We wrote comments into the spreadsheet. That could be considered formative. Or informal quizzes. The data from that could be formative. Diagnostic, we didn't cover that, but that's a simple column with student data. Might be text, might be numbers.
Can you give us an example?
Yes, at the beginning of a unit of work, you might want to know how much they know about something. Social workers, one of your workshops might be about what? I always choose bullying for an example. What else might you do a workshop about? Nutrition. Thank you very much. So maybe it's a series of workshops, maybe 5 workshops with a class. So at the beginning, you want to know how much they know about nutrition. This is in the analysis, right? So you design maybe a 5-question quiz. And maybe all students, the average is 1.5 out of 5. That means they don't know much about nutrition. Yeah, so you know your starting point. If the average is 4.5, you know you can move through things quicker because students know it. So the diagnostics helps you understand your students. This is you would do these sorts of things in the analysis phase of the instructional design. Any questions about the record book?
So this is the first assignment that should be in the portfolio?
It's not the first submitted assignment, but it is one submission in the portfolio.
The first one.
Yep, I'm just about to talk about those 2. Any questions about the record book? We did a lot of work on that today. Okay, so the learning tools. Okay. Let me write on the board. I'm going to pause this recording. All right, on the new PDF that I've uploaded to Blackboard, you'll see the learning tools. So you'll need to submit one learning tool early and one learning tool at the end of the practicum. I've labeled these active and productive and passive and content driven. This is from the student's point of view. One of your learning tools, you'll need to complete an instructional design process for an intervention, activity, or lesson in which students are active. They need to be doing something with technology. Okay? They might be active with the smart board. I think this is probably the easiest for all classes. Does everyone have a smart board in their room? Yes? Okay. If you don't have a smart board, maybe you have a projector. But the fact is that you're using technology and students are active. Hopefully they're active with technology, but they might need just to be active. So you're going to, the activity or the intervention should help your students, clients, learn about a concept, skill or behavior towards desired outcomes. We all have outcomes. Social workers, nutrition. It might be concepts and then maybe a behavior. Educators, maths, might be addition or a particular way of counting, skip counting, something like this. Hopefully you can find a website or an app that you could use where students are active. Yes, a student could be active with paper at their desk while you're using technology. That's at a minimum. Students are actively engaged with it. So that's one learning tool. The different learning tool is passive and content driven. So, for example, maybe you use, and we had two great examples last week, Story Jumper or PictoChart, right? So maybe you create something like that and show students and clients something. You present a little bit. For this one, they're a little more passive. You're showing content. So again, you're completing an instructional design process. This is your lesson plan or intervention plan. Lesson or intervention may include less student-centered learning with technology. You may use PowerPoint, Prezi, Explain Everything, PictoChart, Story Jumper, or any other multimedia tool. And you're going to design a story or a presentation for a lesson. Again, you're introducing a concept to be discussed, or you present a problem, something like that. Social workers, nutrition. You're telling a story about nutrition. Maybe you're showing them facts, showing them data. Students are more passive, aren't they, in this instance?
So now we put both or just choose one of them?
Both.
Both?
Yep.
But it's written one off.
Okay, I'll make that change. It's
Okay.
both.
Because I highlighted.
No, sorry, unhighlight it. My mistake, it is both. Oh, so three. These are your three. Record book. Thank you very much. Active and productive learning tool. Passive and content-driven learning tool. Those are the three submissions in your portfolio. Okay? So, students are more passive in this one. Students are more active in this one. Active is based on pedagogy, not necessarily using the technology, right? You can still have a website displayed, Kahoot, for example. The students are active. They're like red, blue, you know. They're active in their chairs. Or they could have a device telling you their answers, red, blue. That's active and productive. Passive and content-driven is different. Okay, content is the primary purpose of the lesson or activity or intervention. So in planning this, we know that on Thursday, April 13th, you submit one learning tool. Please, this week, talk with your mentor. What lessons do you have coming up? Is one of them more active and productive? Is one of them more passive and content-driven? Social workers, will you be doing interventions and workshops? Okay, I heard yes, and I heard a lot of nods. Maybe there's a chance in your intervention to do active and productive and passive and content, or maybe it's the workshops. It's up to you. Everyone needs to talk with their mentors. You do have a due date.
If we do workshop, how we can submit it?
Yep. Okay, so let's talk about that. Any other question? So it does come down to planning. You submit one by April 13th and then one at the end. The record book is at the end, May 11th. Okay, so how do you, what was your question? How?
If we do a workshop, how we can.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to close this one. I'm going to go back to Blackboard and I'm going to download the template. Okay? How are you going to submit it? Or how are you going to do it for a workshop? Very easy. So the tool name might be, maybe you used Story Jumper, and this was the passive content, okay, for example. You're going to type the information in here. And then submit that to me for one of your learning tools. Okay? So you describe what you did, the how, the who, what, when, where, why, how. And you tell me about it, and then you submit it to me through Blackboard.
What's the evidence? We put PowerPoint.
Yes, okay. So, see Appendix A, and Appendix A might be your PowerPoint. Okay, I've got an example, and I'm gonna walk you through that. But that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna fill out the template. Okay. I've only got limited time, so I'm gonna come through. You can read this later, and for the recording, I think it's better that we talk about what's included quickly. Tool description, describe the tool. Who were the users? What was it used for? How will it be used? There's an example here. Assessment and evidence, okay? How was your use of the tool? How were students involved in it? You might have evidence as well. What evidence did you collect? So include that there. Design, okay? Pedagogical and multimedia design. We haven't done multimedia design in class. We'll be doing it next. So you talk about that here. These are the three elements that you talk about. I'm going to push forward and talk about the assessment rubric. You can look at the specific sections later. For tool description and use, okay, it's worth 40%. Assessment and evidence, it's worth 20%. What does that mean? It means that you shouldn't spend as much time and effort in this section. Tool design, 40%. 40%, 20%, 40%. You now know where you should spend most of your time and effort in which two sections. The tool description and use and tool design. Any lesson you use technology? Yes. It's a lot of lessons, right?
Just one lesson?
Well, that's a good question. If it's not on there, I will make changes. You must have at least 2 lessons. One for active and productive, one for passive and content driven. They must be separate. Separate interventions, separate workshops, separate lessons. Perhaps it's not written on there. I will make the change and upload the new PDF.
So it's visual or with the group?
It's you, individual. Students may be in groups. That comes down to pedagogy. But for you, I expect to see 27 individual lessons or workshops or interventions. What other questions do you have?
What do you mean intervention? Intervention plan?
Yep. So, yeah, for social workers, your intervention plan, maybe it's a one-to-one with a client, and that's an intervention, right? Maybe you use technology in that. Maybe you do only use technology in workshops. It's not in here. I'll just pause it. Okay, the last thing before I switch off the recording is the pages. I didn't include a page or word limit last time, and some students gave me 20 pages, and that was too much. For this assignment, you should write a maximum of 3 pages for each tool. So this is your passive and content. Maybe you say 1 page, 1 page, 1 page, maximum. Okay. So 2 to 3 pages maximum. I will update the PDF and include that information. It's important. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to stop this recording. Goodbye.